Ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again in my Snapshot Redstone testing world. A new feature has just been introduced in the latest Snapshot, 19W03. There's been a handful of iterations because apparently there was a few nasty bugs in there, but the Composter has been introduced and it is now movable by pistons. Now, I'll be totally honest, I haven't even touched this thing just yet, so you're going to see me experimenting with it, learning how it works, and then hopefully using it inside Redstone contraption. Okay, so I've got a bit of a test here. If I place a bunch of melons on the inside of here, okay, they are being composted, and you can also see that we're getting a comparator output from this thing, which actually seems to be... Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4... Oh, okay, so we've actually got a fairly variable pulse length there. Is that now full? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So are there 8 stages of fullness? Because that's quite interesting. And then if we move it over to here, that has been totally emptied out. And we get 1 piece of bone meal. We get 1 piece of bone meal for 41 melons. Is that a good deal? I don't know if that's a good deal or not. Now, one thing that I've noticed is that the pulling out of the bone meal is automated, so we don't have to do any piston moving or anything like that. You can see as soon as this thing fills up, this hopper takes the compost out from the composter and actually moves it along into this chest, so we don't have to do any stuff with pistons. But the actual mechanics of the composter, for now, they're not that interesting to me. I think I'm just going to try my best to use these inside Redstone circuits because there are some applications that come straight to mind. But one thing before we do, I am kind of curious. How fast can the composter actually be? Does it even accept items from a minecart hopper? That's such a shame because that would have been so quick. Can you imagine if that could just shoot straight through? It seems as though our composter is actually limited in speed, because I've tried to create a maximum velocity composter, and yeah, it's not exactly flying through. In fact, a lot of these hoppers are actually backing up with items, which means that this is the bottleneck, unfortunately. Now, one thing that is quite interesting about the composter is that its level increasing is a percentage chance thing. So, for example, bread has got an 80% chance of increasing the level in the composter. I think pumpkins has a 50% chance. I think melons has something ridiculously low. But pumpkin pie has got a 100% chance of increasing the level. Yes, I did just read the Wikipedia page. So if we put pumpkin pie into this composter right here, we can get ourselves a reliable counting system. It's not exactly the most spectacular of redstone contraptions, but redstone counters are generally fairly big and ugly things, and this is a relatively simple way to count up to the number 7 without having to do anything particularly complicated. And look, it even resets itself when it reaches the end. I think the thing that's interesting about these composters is that they're the only movable block in Minecraft that has got a variable signal strength. So we can change the signal outputted by them, but they can also be pushed around by pistons, which I'm sure has got plenty of uses that I'm not smart enough to know about. However, one of the things that I think will make it more useful is if we have some automatic way to reset it, which I have to admit is a lot simpler than I was expecting it to be. This is the Composter Zeroifier. So if we were to place any item on the inside of here, you can see that as fast as possible, it will reset itself back to 0. So now the composter is empty once again until it gets refilled, and then it will go, oh no, we don't want to be filled up. We want to be completely empty. Okay, I think I can use this inside a redstone contraption. Now, the first thing that comes to mind is some form of combination lock. So if I just do something like this, and then I can't actually remember what mode I have to set that into. So that has got that amount, which means that if we place in... I'm being stupid. Now, the first thing that comes to mind is some form of combination lock. So I'm just trying to work out the redstone here. Okay, that needs to be in subtract mode. So that powers that. And then we actually want this to be a comparator so that when we go 1 over, that will then unpower that. So that right there is actually going to be the output of our combination lock. And now what we have to do is hook up this redstone circuit here, the double piston extender. Then down at the bottom, we're going to have one of the zeroifiers. So that's going to oh, that makes life difficult. And in case you're confused, it's the fact that there's a piston where my hopper needs to be. This is already way more complicated than I expected it to be. I thought I could just retract our composter out of the way, take a reading, and then push it back out after clearing it, and that'll be it. And that is all we have to do, but doing that is actually, it's quite complicated. And I don't even know if it's possible, because I still need to take another comparator output from this thing that isn't here. Off in this direction, potentially, but that's where our redstone is. Oh, and I've made a terrible mistake. In a number of departments, apparently. Yeah, this isn't a smart way to make a combination lock. In fact, it's so rubbish, I'm actually going to move on. I've discovered a bit of an interesting bug, in that if we move the composter fast enough between hoppers that are filled up with items, it gets stuck in this state right here. Now, obviously, we're in a snapshot, so that's to be expected, and I don't imagine it's going to be sticking around in the game, but I wonder if there's some way that we can reboot it. It doesn't look like updating it is doing anything. I mean, surely... Oh, even right-clicking on it doesn't do anything. So I've now made a broken composter generator. I mean, is that useful at all? I mean, it works. Look, I can't put any extra pumpkin pies into this composter, no matter how hard I try. I mean, that is something that you could do with them. You know, it's funny. I thought this was going to be an incredibly powerful redstone component. I mean, when I first found out that you can move them, I almost thought to myself that this would totally revolutionize the way that we do certain things. But now I'm really struggling to even find a half-decent use for it. Now, don't get me wrong, they are incredibly useful. I kind of think of them as being like better, slightly less dangerous to use, and maybe slightly less frustrating to use cauldrons, because, well, when it comes to cauldrons, the maximum power output that you can get is 3 blocks, whereas with these, you can get up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can get 7 blocks of power output. That's definitely an improvement. And also, you don't have to carry around loads of water buckets. Instead, you can carry around a stack of pumpkin pie, and that will allow you to fill up a bunch of these composters, as opposed to having to keep going back and forth, gathering water to fill up all your cauldrons. So that's definitely an improvement. But in terms of completely revolutionizing redstone, I don't know, I haven't really thought of anything yet. But as we know, not exactly the smartest guy over here. I'll be the first person to admit it. Okay, I've thought of an idea of something that we can do that has never been done before in Minecraft. After a lot of time spent thinking, I have come up with something, at least something that we can now do that we've never been able to do before in Minecraft. And actually, it is quite interesting. Right, so this is part number 1. So we have got the wiring out the back for the logic of it, and then out the front, we're going to create a piston feed tape, which should actually be quite simple because all of these are quite easily accessible. So here comes our first test. I need to get the correct combination for that redstone lamp to turn on. So the combination is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that should be it, and we should see that cycle round in front of these comparators in a second, and hopefully, fingers crossed, if I've done everything correctly, then that redstone lamp should switch on, which it has, so that means that we've got the correct combination, and then we should also see that our cauldrons get cleared out of all of their stuff. So that then gets reset, and the entire system is ready to go once again. So I can do it once more. So it was 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. That's the correct combination. If you don't get the correct combination and you put maybe 3, 2, and 5, then obviously your redstone lamp isn't going to be switching on, and you're not going to gain access into whatever it is that that redstone line connects up into. Which, you know, it's an interesting concept. It's a working combination lock. It is quite cool, but as you can see, it's relatively big and bulky. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. Obviously, the composter is a very useful addition to redstone in terms of having an alternative to cauldrons. I mean, it's always nice to have alternatives to choose from, and it definitely does have its strengths. For example, it being slightly more powerful on the redstone end and potentially a little bit less tricky to fill up. But other than that, is there something unique that you can do with the composter that I've completely missed out on? I'm sure there is. Let me know down in the comment section. I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please press that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.